This is the summary of where I'm coming from with this idea. This is the summary. Time in game will always win. That is how video games are made. If you don't want this, you want a pay to win game, and nobody wants Tarkov to be pay to win. But that doesn't mean that just because you play 80 hours a week, you should always have everything you want accessible to you at all times. What's up, everybody? So this is a little bit of a different video for me, but it was a really cool conversation that we had on stream that I would love to share with you. I don't want to over preface the video, but there's a few things we do need to talk about before we dive in. First of all, Tobias, one of the BSG guys, recently tweeted out a question just asking about the economy in Tarkov and what we would do to fix it. It reminded me of an idea that I've been sitting on for a while that I wanted to bring and talk with chat and kind of experiment, and I would love to test in the game. And that's what that is, a test experiment. You guys know that I'm really critical of people that just swoop in and say, remove the flea market, take away the Bitcoin farm, X, Y, or Z, and it'll fix the game. I don't like that. This is more nuanced than that. This is an idea that I've had that I think touches multiple areas of the game that I'm bringing to the community for feedback. That was the whole point of this video, that I would love to test. I do not know that this would be perfect, but I would love to test it. That being said, I would love to hear your thoughts on this idea, but please watch the entire video first. Watch it on 1.5 times speed if you need to, because I know it's long, but chat brings up a lot of good points. We go through a lot, and your idea or your point might have been brought up later in the video. So just watch it in its entirety and then let me know what you think down below. The other thing that we have to do is define a few terms. The words Chad and casual are thrown around a lot in the Escape from Tarkov community, and they encompass a lot of things. For the purpose of this video, a casual, when I say that, I mean somebody who can only play a little bit, maybe 10 hours a week. When I say Chad, I'm talking about somebody that can play 80 hours a week. There are plenty of casual players that are bought into a hardcore experience. It doesn't mean they are bad at the game. What I'm talking about here is just somebody that can't play all the time. And just in the same way, there are Chads that can play 40, 50, 60 hours a week that are terrible at this game, want it to be an arcadey shooter, and vice versa. So those terms are just talking about the time of play, because that's kind of what this idea is hoping to balance out a lot. Anyways, the very last thing, I can't spell. I'm very sorry. I can't type. 60% of the words I type are misspelled. If that's going to trigger you, I apologize. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into the video, and you guys can share your thoughts with me. This is my idea. No guns, armor, or ammo on flea at all. All right. This is my idea. Why? All right. Why? Okay. It would found in raid ammo would actually be found in raid only, right? So this would mean that stuff that, like, when stuff's found in raid, it's just not found in raid only, because we immediately get to purchase it off the flea market. So this would mean found in raid only as found in raid. After a wipe, in 20 minutes, people are buying highest level gear off flea. In this mode, they would have to go find it if they want it. So what that means is that, like, we wouldn't have to get, like, you can just go do raiders, right? Like, you can just go farm raiders, you can farm scav bosses, and you can get that stuff. And what a lot of people do is they just immediately put that on. Oh no, this is my idea. I would love to try this right now. How would this tie into the full scope of what EFT wants to be? I feel like it ties in better, because the way that people play the game right now, which is that once they just, like, farm infinite money and then buy literally anything they want off the flea at any time, this would mean it would be more dynamic. Like, if you wanted a slick, you would have to either find the things to barter for it, buy the things to barter for it, or find it in the raid, as opposed to just purchasing it infinitely off the flea market. Anyways, what are the cons to this? This is actually why I'm talking to you, chat. What is bad about this idea? Let me know. I'd get behind it, but Nikita wants everything still accessible for testing. He mentioned a couple times in my Q&A yesterday. But what's not available for testing if we do this? What do you mean? You get a gun or ammo, but not the other. Now you have half of a hole that does nothing without the other. But so does everybody. It's Kuma, right? So does everybody. All right, hold on. Okay, so hold on. This was the one. Casual never gets gear. In my investigation, casuals aren't the ones buying M61 and slicks in bulk on flea. Only Chads. Casuals will most likely use the exact same gear with maybe less good ammo, but Chads won't have unlimited access to best gear. There would be those items that would be drastically reduced in accessibility. Yeah, that's true. But that's the thing. I don't think anything would go down to like nobody would have it. It would just be less. Like you think about like, and I'm not saying you're wrong, nice guy. That is a very genuine criticism. Nikito wants everything accessible for testing currently. That's an idea. I just think there's like, you could make an argument with like the grenade launcher or T7s. They put that in, but nobody uses them. You know what I mean? And they don't decrease the prices of them. So I'm just interested. You know what I mean? What's up, Ben? Which is the guy here we're just talking about? We're talking about Jessekazam's civilian flea market idea where no guns, armor, or ammo are traded on the flea market. Another thing in the positive column for me is that nice guy, you're here. Okay. Nice guy's idea. Nice guy's idea earlier was, I'm not going to type this out. Nice guy's idea was for if there would be a time, like if you bought something on the flea market, but you wouldn't get it in 30 minutes and that would slow things down, shipping time, right? This would be a simulated shipping time via crafting. So this could be your answer to the other thing. If there were more crafts for high level stuff, that's okay, because you could buy what you need to craft M61 on flea if you wanted to. But now you have to wait for it to craft. Can't just buy 1,000 rounds and use it. So for anything that would go down to almost a zero accessibility, you could then put a craft in, make that craft 14 hours, and now everybody has access to the good gear at high level hideout, but it's not spammable. Does that make sense? This means this would potentially add a lot more intentionality to the gear sets we bring. We find an M4 and spend 2 days crafting ammo and finding attachments to use the M4. 2 days might be a lot. Spend a day. You know what I mean? Where this would be like, Nikita talks a lot about intentionality. Bring the gear, bring what you want to use. You know what I mean? But then you get into the situation of Cordura or whatever needed in craft being 1,000, 100. Yes. But once again, that affects everybody, and everything would kind of, I feel like everything would almost bubble out to similar to how it is now. To craft 55A1 would be cheaper than to craft, 995, just like it's cheaper to purchase 55A1. And in this idea, traders don't go away. You can still buy what you want from them. right? So I can still buy 55A1 or whatever. They could make balances and adjustments, but and then lose it all because you suck at PvP, bro. I mean, that's yeah. But isn't that game loop? Doesn't that game loop 7 like extend? You know, isn't that like a game loop that extends the life of Tarkov? I feel like flea market should be a Sunday market, nothing over tier 4 ammo or around. See, I think blocking specific items, like I think blocking like level locking the flea market, saying nothing. I think when you dilute it, it becomes confusing. When certain ammos can, but certain ammos can't. When certain armor can, but certain armor can't. It confuses the player base. And what's nice about this is very explainable in lore. If you were going to go to a flea market to purchase something in real life, you couldn't be worried that everybody was going to shoot you at all times. Because, you know what I mean? So this could be in a neutral zone, an armistice zone. Punishes casuals. Can you explain that? What do you mean? How does this punish casuals? Flea ammo was one day and guns another day. It's still, it just, if you were rich, you would just still stockpile the ammo. I feel like this does the opposite. I feel like this rip casuals. I feel like this helps casuals. Hashtag rip casuals Lamau. Because hideout progression and money. Yes, but that's not, in my opinion, that's not, so we have to, maybe. Here's the thing. Casuals are already punished by letting chads buy whatever they want whenever they want. Chads will most likely always have an edge due to time spent in game. This does not increase that edge. It slightly decreases it. IMO. Because if a Chad wants to run an SA-58 all day with M61, he either has needed to have planned for that for 3 weeks to get all the ammo, or he runs out of ammo and can't buy any more and has to craft it. And then he can't run that SA-58 with M61 anymore. That does not hurt casuals, in my opinion. In my opinion. Dude, Dom, yeah, casuals are punished because they're casuals. Chads will always have an edge due to time spent in game. I one tapped a lot. If the amount of meta ammo is now drastically reduced, it helps. Yeah. Yeah, crafting is the best thing for casuals, in my opinion. And it evens out the playing field. If the only way to get M61 is to find it in raid and craft it, it evens out the playing field on crafting because everybody... Yeah. Here we go, chat. If anything... Casuals spend more time in their hideout crafting and may be able to get more than chats. I feel like there's a lot of like casual players with elite hideout management and level 7 strength. You know what I mean? Crafting would be good for casuals too, though, because you just have to start the crafting even if you aren't playing the day. Yes, exactly. Crafting helps casuals because it levels the time spent playing field a bit because they don't have to be playing to craft. You know what I mean? This also pushes casuals to use high tier gear. For example, if a casual crafts 995 or M61 right now, they sell it to make money. Now they would use it. If they find a slick in a secret stash, they sell it because they are worried they will die with it first raid. Now they will use it. Does this make sense? There's no... We talk a lot about the casual and the Chad, but there's not a whole lot of current incentive for casual players to use high tier gear. Because if it's found in raid, they would sell it. They would take an easy profit. Yo, BCO, thank you for the tier 1, homie. Justin, thank you for the sub. Right? But they just might use it. And that means they might win a fight that they didn't think they were going to win. And that might means they get to go out with their Chad kit and more. You know what I mean? Now they would sell it to the vendor, make much less money. Maybe. Kafifa. They totally might. But if you find a slick in a ground stash and you can sell to Ragman for 100,000 rubles, like, would you? Or would you try to use it? Like, I don't know. Are there any other potential cons? This would lead to less PvP because there will on average be less people with equal gear. That's an interesting thing, Jeff, because I feel like the #1 criticism of Escape from Tarkov is that the average person can't compete because that they have nowhere near equal gear to a Chad. This equalizes gear because it pushes Chads down, having to use lower tier gear more often. And does that make sense? This, I want to see ground, loot, ammo, guns be increased. Agreed. 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 Yes. Loot in raids of ammo and armor and guns should IMO be increased with this change. I agree. Force the Chads to always be crafting high tier gear in order to run it. Yes. But, like, you know what I mean? This late into a wipe, how many of you would consider yourself casual but also have relatively high leveled... What's up, DMV? Relatively high leveled hideouts. And therefore, you would have the ability to craft it too. The reason Chads have this gear is time spent playing the game with the ability. Why punish them? It's not about punishing them. This is about... So this is a good thing. This is a good thing. That's not a bad question. Why punish Chads in the first place? Okay. I am not trying to punish Chads. Nikita has made it clear that, nice guy can attest to this, he does not like metas. And that he wants to slow down fights. And he wants more of the gear in the game to be used. This is less about punishing people who play more. It's just reframing how fights work and still allows for people who play more to have an advantage. I still think they would. If you can play more, if you're good at this game and you're playing more, that means you're killing more people who crafted those things. And you can still have the ability to stack that stuff in your stash. I think you can go either way, to be honest. Let's say I'm only willing to go resort or dorms with slick M4. If those are less available to me, all those areas likely resulting in less PMC interaction. Yes. But that slick and M4 are less available to everyone. So it's less likely you have one and less likely you will run into one. I don't like metas. I want metas to go away from Tarkov. Yep. Direct quote from Nikita, by the way. Go down if people rather craft their gear. Pandora's box has been opened, so why will the Chads settle for less? I'm not sure, Peak Master. I think the player base right now is dropping off. I think hundreds of thousands of casual players aren't playing because they feel like they can't compete. I feel like, once again, this is an idea that would potentially push the game towards what Nikita wants. The Chads that will leave because of this idea will leave one day anyway, because Nikita will change the game one way or another. That makes them mad. Any Chad that left because of this change will leave eventually, because of what oh no, I know, Peak Master. Dude, this whole document was literally, it was, where is it? I said, what's bad about this idea? You know what I mean? So I'm down to hear it. Trying to work out the idea. Yeah. Unless Arena is nuts. Yeah. Unless Arena is nuts. All right. Real quick. This is Jesse's civilian flea market idea. No guns, no armor, no ammo on the flea at all, period. Why? Found in raid ammo would actually be found in raid. Right now, anything found in raid immediately gets purchased off the flea market. Loot in raids, loot, guns, and armor should be increased. After a wipe in 20 minutes, people are buying the highest level gear off the flea market. In this mode, they would have to go find it themselves. A genuine strategy from people is to go farm Killa early wipe and then put all that on the flea market, all his Killa armor. If you want to do that, that's fine. But now you have to go get high tier stuff if you want, which would reduce the amount of high tier stuff you would see the first week of the wipe. You could craft more items, you can craft high tier items, which is a balance between those high tier items get to be available, but not available in as much excess as you possibly want. It would add more intentionality to the gear because you would have to be picking what you do. Traders won't go away. You can still buy what you want. We've gone over that the casual would never get gear. In my investigation, casuals aren't the ones buying M61 and slicks in bulk off the flea, only Chads. Casual will most likely use the exact same gear with maybe less good ammo, but the Chads won't have unlimited access to gear. Punishes casuals. Casuals are already punished by letting Chads buy whatever they want whenever they want. Chads will most likely always have an edge due to time spent in the game, and that is good. This does not increase that edge, it slightly decreases it though. If anything, casuals spend more time in their hideout crafting, and crafting helps casuals because it levels out the time spent playing field. This also pushes casuals to use high tier gear because when they find it, they won't sell it, which means those casuals might stand more of a chance in fights. Is this a synopsis of the podcast and how it affects new players? No, this is just 100% an idea that I've had that I can't get out of my brain, that I don't think has a downside to the game. And so I wanted to ask Chad if there was a downside. It's all subjective. It's all subjective. Once again, okay, so what I just said was dangerous, that there's no downsides. My foundation here, the foundation for this idea is knowing where Nikita wants to take the game. All right. Can we get a mod to find and post either the video that Nice Guy did or the forum post that Nice Guy did, where Nice Guy got to ask Nikita himself like 15 questions, and you get to hear the heart behind it. Nikita does not want metas. He wants to slow down firefights. He wants it to be less arcadey. He wants it to be more intentional. He wants more of the gear that they put in this game to be used. So with that as a foundation, I don't see how this idea doesn't push us towards that. It is subjective, however. If you want Tarkov to be more arena arcadey, then you're not going to like this idea. But I'm saying on the foundation of where Nikita wants to take this game. I think if you make it harder for Chads, you might even make it harder for casuals. Hardcore gamers will always have meta stuff, and if it's harder for casuals to get it, you might make it harder. See, I think it makes it harder for Chads to get, but maybe either a little bit easier or still accessible to casuals. So casuals might be using this stuff more than they normally would, and Chads would be using it less than they normally would. So that might balance it out. It would still exist in the world, and if you got a good kill on somebody, you could still take their good stuff. But I do see what you're saying. I really like this maybe friend we're talking about the other day. I really got to see other people talking about it. Yeah, Nice Guy is the homie. He makes amazing stuff. I see no problem with armor weapons on Flea because the most part, guns, armor, and parts can be purchased from vendors anyway, except for the highest tier stuff, right? Like slicks and hex grids can't be purchased, but they can be bartered for. And you say why want to limit the meta? Because Nikita wants to limit the meta. Once again, this is coming from Nikita. Nikita doesn't want everybody running around in a slick every single raid. So you can take up the foundation of this idea with Nikita, but you know, the building on top of the foundation, this is what's my idea. Like you say, why limit the meta? A direct quote from Nikita is that he wants to get rid of metas. You know what I mean? There will always be a new meta though. Yes, so unbalanced. That's exactly what I'm saying. So what this does is instead of like changing values of attachments, because there will always be a meta. You're absolutely right. There will always be a meta gun. But if that meta gun and ammo isn't infinitely accessible to people who have enough money, then when you don't have the items you need for that gun or ammo or armor, or when that thing is crafting, you'll be forced to use something else. So you're shifting the meta away by just kind of forcing people to use a little bit more stuff, because you're absolutely right. There will always be a meta gun and a meta ammo. 100%. I agree with you. You just won't be able to buy it every single raid.
Will be a godsend. It renders armor useless as everyone has armor.
Yeah, Captain.
Rounds.
Yeah, 100%. Unless you stock up 100%, which is a good idea to stock up. But then if you have a really bad day, you're punished for that. If you have a really good day, you're rewarded for that. Guns, maybe. Guns and attachments are the question marks. I'm not inherently opposed to it, but I would still like to try it. Gear score system. I think gear score or any sort of skill-based matchmaking would be a really bad idea in Tarkov, because once again, and this isn't a direct quote, but this is paraphrasing what Nikita said at the end of the podcast. Modern warfare is more a game of chance than skill. You can have all the training that you want and still step on a landmine or not see somebody in a room. And that's what he wants to simulate here. So I don't think skill-based matchmaking or gear score would be a good idea. So I'm full release. Won't there be shortages of stuff like weekly few days? We don't really know a lot of information about that. Potentially, Abnar. What about farming raiders? How do you counter that? You could reduce the likelihood of things like slicks, but to be honest with you, raiders are actually in a decent spot where most of the time the best thing you get from a raider is like a USEC armor and a gun with and an AK with BT. Sometimes you get an SR25, You know what I mean? Like, I think Raider gear is actually relatively balanced right now. And if you can't put it on the flea market, then it's not like if you farm it, you're like facilitating everybody being able to buy stuff all the time. This is all under the guise. I think we're about to wrap this up. This is all under the guise of course, I am not a game dev. There are things in the works that I don't know about that may make this idea irrelevant. I don't know if I spelled that right. The reason I like this, whoops, is that it seems to me that it is somewhat timeless. Could stay in the game forever. Can be explained with lore. And at least somehow addresses the economy that everyone is complaining about. So yeah. Lack of meta, but more staple and balanced here would be good too, I think. Like BT, for example, it's perfectly usable. Yes, I agree with you completely. Completely. People that are trying to get good would be the right kind of description because they want to. That's true. Casual is a bad word. Casual is a bad word. Time and raid will rule all. Chads equals a lot of gear all the time. This is true. This is true. This is true. Time in game will always win. That is how video games are made. If you don't want this, you want a pay to win game. And no one wants this Tarkov to be pay to win. That's just how it is, right? Like that. I don't want to get rid of this. Okay? I don't want to get rid of this. I think the delta might be too big between people who are newer to the game, and I feel like the delta might be too big between people who play 10 hours a week and people who play 80, but it does need to be there. It does need to be there. All right? If you play 80 hours a week, you should have more and better gear than me. But that doesn't necessarily mean that just because you play 80 hours a week, you should always have access to literally anything you want in game. This is the summary of where I'm coming from with this idea. This is the summary. Time in game will always win. That is how video games are made. If you don't want this, you want a pay to win game, and nobody wants Tarkov to be pay to win. But that doesn't mean that just because you play 80 hours a week, you should always have everything you want accessible to you at all times. You know what I mean? I feel like this is it. What we're trying to do is make it so there's still some intentionality. There's still some thought into the 80-hour-a-week guys, into what they have to do. Preparation. I got to make sure my crafts are done so that I can make sure that this weekend when I'm putting in big hours, I've got the ammo, I've got the this, I've got the that. And then we got to make sure that the people that play 10 hours a week still have the opportunity to get that gear as well. And they're just not going to be able to get as much of it. The Gamma container and level 4 stash also makes people's progress much faster. Gamma stash 30 is like a 30 mil advantage early.
Tarkov is the best FPS
I disagree,
out there, and
Vicious.
I really enjoyed it for about 2 years throughout all the changes.
Yo, Ziggy, thank you for the
looking forward to whatever Tarkov they build.
Thank you for the tier 2 15 months. And I agree. I'm very much looking forward to the Tarkov they build. I don't see it as a straight up 30 million ruble advantage, because I would if I had to pick, I would pick alpha. I would pick standard account stash size and alpha container, and starting with 30 million rubles, then an EOD. because then I could blaze through the hideout and print an infinite amount of money with 30 million rubles. So it does not matter if 30 million rubles is the value of a gamma container and a stash. On day one of a wipe, I would pick standard edition with 30 million. So I don't think that's a fair comparison. But I appreciate you framing the question in a way where you were like, you're saying I'm open for opinions. You know what I mean? And if you disagree with me, that's 100% okay. That's just kind of, you know what I mean? He was much better than me at the game. Exactly, Genesis. Yeah. A lot of standard account people are much better than me at this game. Once armor zones come in and hollow points can kill guys with slicks, are these changes gonna... What are these changes gonna do to those armors? This doesn't negatively affect that in any way. This still supplies a version of Tarkov, Joey, where you're picking what ammos you want to stock up on, craft, buy, purchase, what type of armors you want to stock up on, craft, buy, purchase, barter for, and play it out. That's just going to add a whole new slice of the pie where, you know what I mean? You can use hollow point rounds. Took his truth pills today. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a boost, right? Nobody's denying that the EOD is a boost. You get some trader rep, you get a bigger stash, you get a gamma container. But 10 out of 10 times, smoke, will, clean, deadly. 10 out of 10 times, these guys, if we start fresh, I have an EOD and they have a standard, they win. If they can outplay me and take all my gear, like if I can unlock traders first, buy a bunch of good gear faster than they can, but they can outplay me, they get my gear. So it's definitely a boost. I get an advantage going in a little bit. I'm ahead of the game a little bit. I don't have anything you can't get, but I'm ahead of the game. But if I suck at Tarkov, you're going to take all my gear. If you're good and I suck, you're going to take all my gear. You know what I mean? You know how many times I've died in the past week with a slick and a meta gun because I was positioned poorly? Yeah. And I'd be even fine with potentially getting rid of the trader rep boost. I would be fine with that personally, getting rid of the trader rep boost for EOD players. If you got rid of that, that's fine. All right. Thanks, chat. I've been thinking about this idea all day. Tobias tweeted something out. I responded with this idea. I've had this idea for a while, and I couldn't stop thinking about it today. I really couldn't stop thinking about it today. But here was the thing. I was like, listen, I'm not everybody. And so I was like, I want to put this up on screen, and I want chat to tear it apart. You know what I mean? I was like, if anybody has a concern about this idea, I want them to tell me. And then if I can come up with a reason that concern is invalid, cool. But if I can't, then maybe there's a hole in this that I don't see. So like, thank you guys for participating in that. You know what I mean? Because like, at the end of the day, I want, like, if an idea is going to be good, then it has to be able to stand up to like people saying, well, what about this? And well, what about that? So I wanted that. I wanted a few hundred people to come in here and be like, well, what about this? And what about that? And at the end of the day, I'm sure that there are people in chat that don't like the idea. That's 100% okay. Let me say that again. If you're in here and you don't like this idea we're talking about, we're good, fam. That's fine. The likelihood that this gets implemented in this game is 0.0000001734923%. So I'm not holding it too closely. You know what I mean? I just wanted it to be a cool discussion. I feel like our chat is mature enough to have a conversation about this, and it was cool. This was super not toxic. This was super dope, and so I might turn this into a video. Thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to check out this video. I know this was kind of a weird, different one. If you like this video, think about dropping a like, commenting down below with your thoughts, or subscribing to the channel for more content like this. I stream Escape from Tarkov on Twitch. All my links will be down below. I'd love to have you stop by and say hey. And if you're looking for people to play Tarkov with, then our Discord server is an awesome place to be. Check that out. That link is down below as well. Thank you again so much for stopping by, and I will definitely see y'all on the next one.